And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong.
Would you like to hear Mike Pence push back on Donald Trump about his false claims that Pence had the right to overturn the election results?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing the former vice president speak about what real American leadership looks like.
But does the former vice president have a duty to push back against these false claims by the former president?
No, he's not. He's a private citizen. I don't think he has a duty to do that, no.
Shortly before former Vice President Mike Pence took the stage at the Federalist Society Florida Chapters Conference in Orlando, members weighed in on whether Pence should address the recent attacks from his former boss.
I don't know that this is the time or the place for that kind of conversation.
This week, the former President Donald Trump lied once again, saying Pence had the authority to reject the 2020 election results. So will Pence respond?
I think he's too much of a man with great demeanor and civility to address that openly in the public until it's the proper time.
Before Pence spoke, some here didn't see a need for Pence to address his decision to certify the vote because they agree Trump lost, period.
Joe Biden won the election, so I don't know what more I can say. I mean, Joe Biden won the election. The role of the vice president in that is very ceremonial. They counted the electoral ballots. The members of Congress voted to certify. Joe Biden won the election.
I don't think he needs to address it. What happened, right, wrong, or indifferent, we lost in 2020.
Do you not want to hear Pence correct the record that Trump is falsely claiming that he could have overturned the election?
I think Pence probably feels, I don't want to speak for Pence, but I think Pence probably feels that the record does not need to be corrected. Otherwise, he would correct it.
Then came the former vice president's speech.
And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone.
We went back out to the group after the speech to see how it was received.
I was pleasantly surprised with how he handled it. I thought he did a great job. I think it's time to move on from the 2020 election and look forward to 2024.
I think he's made it clear, the vice president has, that he has a difference of opinion with the president and the president's team over what the duties of the vice president required on January 6th.
Were you happy to hear him address it?
Well, I think he needed to address it. This is a great audience. These are constitutional scholars here, so you're speaking to a very educated group.
I think Mike Pence did the right thing. I think Mike Pence should have done what he felt was right, and it sounds like he did what he felt was right.
How do you think that comment will sit with former President Donald Trump being called wrong?
Probably not well, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what he says.
But there are those in our party who believe that, as the presiding officer over the joint session of Congress, that I possess unilateral authority to reject electoral college votes. And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president. Under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election. And Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
I asked for some color from inside the room, and Steve Cotorno is here to deliver. He was inside the room there in Florida. What was the reaction when we heard these words, "Trump is wrong, I had no right to overturn the election"?
Well, Victor, there was really a hush that fell over the room as Vice President Pence began to talk about January 6th and his role on that day. And, this was a very polite crowd. This was a crowd that he is friendly with. And they did applaud him when he spoke about fulfilling his constitutional duty. There was applause as well for talking about when he framed it in terms of, we have to be strong on this now and say that one person can't change the election, or we risk the Democrats doing this in 2024 with Vice President Harris. That remark also got applause, but it was a very quiet room otherwise. A couple people did walk out when he said that. I'm not sure if it was related, but it was noticed by several people in the media row. And, you know, just in general, we knew in advance he was going to say something about January 6th and that he was likely to have to address the comments that the president made just 1 week ago. However, I don't think anyone anticipated that it would be such a strong rebuke of the president, calling him out by name and saying Trump is wrong. That was definitely a first here.
And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong.